Hello, welcome to Stogie Palace. I am your host, Chris, enjoying this Tatwai Monster series. But this video is about cigars on cruise ships. Those of you that follow Stogie Palace on Facebook probably saw the video that I posted there when I was on my cruise. I don't think I took one on the cruise ship. I should have, though. But I'll tell you why I didn't when it comes to cigars. But I took one smoking a cigar in St. Thomas on the beach. And you know, originally when I was packing or figuring out what I was going to pack for the trip, I wasn't going to bring any cigars at all. Also wasn't going to bring my hat, my fedora. Last minute, I decided to bring them both, and I'm glad I did. The hat I wore more often than I thought I would, especially for the formal night there on the cruise. Cigars, well, let's get to that. I brought 9 cigars, of which I smoked 2. A little bit of a letdown. And one thing I've said in other videos is a lot of times the enjoyment of cigars has to do with the surroundings, the atmosphere, the circumstance. So you would think on a cruise ship, hey, how can it get much better? Or on a tropical beach in St. Thomas, how could it be better? Truth be told, they weren't better. They're actually a little which doesn't make any sense, I know. I brought the 2 that I smoked. The one that I smoked on the cruise ship was the one I've rated higher than any other cigar. It's My Father Flor de las Antillas Maduro. It burned unevenly. It didn't taste as good as I remembered. Didn't make any sense. Although the conditions had a lot to do with it, and I'll get to that. On the beach, I smoked one of those La Tellier cracker crumbs. And it was good, but it wasn't as good as I remember here at home in controlled conditions. It wasn't windy. It was a nice day on the beach. The flavor just wasn't as good. Weird, huh? I'm starting to wonder if altitude. I'm at 5,000 feet. I'm wondering if it has something to do with it. Doubt it. So let's get to the particulars of my cruise. And I can only speak based on my loads and loads of experience of cruising, which equal once. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not a seasoned cruiser, although I would sure like to become one. This was on the Royal Caribbean, and this was on their biggest ship, the biggest cruise ship in the world, the Allure of the Seas. By the time you watch this, it may be the second biggest, because they're going to come out with a new one called the Harmony of the Seas here pretty soon. It's 1 foot bigger. So. Had I read some of the forbidden items, I would have seen torchlighter as being one of them, but I didn't, so I didn't know. But I didn't bother bringing it anyway because I knew I couldn't get it on the flight, so I just brought this little big lousy lighter, and yeah, I still have the little mark to show for it. That's actually just from right now, not from my trip, which was just in the last few days I got back. But these damn lighters with those wheels, man, they can just rip you up. So anyway, on this particular cruise ship, and I believe it's the case with all Royal Caribbeans and probably all other cruise liners, because I looked at a website that broke it down, fairly similar. There was no smoking allowed anywhere on the ship except for one place, and that was on the starboard side, the right side, and it was the second from the top deck where the pools were. There was another deck above that. You could tell the area because they had ashtrays. It was right next to a bar, so that was handy. They had a daily sheet that they had put on your door about all the upcoming activities, and every day except for one, I think there was one day they didn't have this, I don't know why, a thing they called Cigars Under the Stars. Ooh, sounds promising, right? Well, it wasn't as promising as it sounds. Yes, there were people there, mostly cigarette smokers, but there were some cigar smokers there. Actually talked to a few, one particular, gave him a shout out on Facebook, Greg Weaver. Good to meet you. Sat there and talked for a while. But so for the Cigars Under the Stars, Like I said, it wasn't the top deck. There was a roof over. There were no stars to be seen. But that's not the big problem. The big problem was that it was a wind tunnel through there. I don't know if it was just because we were at sea, although we weren't going that fast, 20 miles an hour maybe, you know, not really moving very quick. It wasn't all that windy, but it was a wind tunnel through here. As soon as you went through the sliding glass door out of the elevator onto this deck, it's just brutal. Torchlighters not being allowed, trying to light a cigar with one of those was next to impossible. I had all but given up. Then somebody came up to me and lit my cigar with what? A torch lighter. This is before I knew that they were outlawed. I don't know if this person knew that either, but thanks to them, I was able to smoke that cigar all the way through. Burned really unevenly, canoed like crazy. I guess it was fitting canoeing on a ship. So that was the one and only time I got to actually smoke a cigar on the ship. You are not allowed to smoke cigars anywhere else, especially I wanted to smoke somewhere inside, and I figured the casino was the place because there were people in there smoking. And I was waiting for a table, but I asked the bartender, you know, for a drink, but I also said, it's not a problem with cigars, right? He goes, absolutely, not allowed. Great. So our second place that we stopped at, which was St. Thomas, where I believe it was St. Thomas, where I bought this really cool Caribbean Hawaiian shirt. I don't know if it can be Hawaiian if it's from the Caribbean, but you know what I mean. So I bought a torch lighter in St. Thomas, this little thing, and I have no idea how big the tank is. You can't tell. It's mostly plastic. It worked fine. Went onto the ship real quick after buying this and this shirt and other things just to put back in the room before we went to the beach. So we have to carry all that stuff all day. And guess what? They took it from me. They showed me the list. Torch lighters not allowed on the ship. So they were going to take it away from me, not to be returned until the cruise was over with. Great. So my wife, being the wily one she is, she goes, well, let's go put our stuff away, come back down, get it now so you can go smoke a cigar on the beach at least. So that's what we did. And I like I said in the video on Facebook, if you didn't see it, is that when the people that sold me this, and this was only like 12 bucks, so that was a pretty good deal actually for torch lighter. Just constantly shaking up the butane can while they were filling it. Big mistake. I said on the video in air accelerant, I meant propellant, which is like the aerosol, the non-burning stuff, the gas that pushes the fuel in. Well, you mix up like that, eventually it all does separate, and it's just that empty airspace in there that's useless. So when they think it's full, it's not really full, but anyway, for another time on that. So I got my lighter back and we went back down through security. Enjoyed that cigar on the beach. That was worth it. That was cool. We're 12 bucks for a one-shot deal. I don't know, because I never use that lighter again. And it's empty now because I put it through my luggage to come home, and I made sure that it was empty. Being that it wasn't metal, probably wasn't seen by them anyway, but it was empty anyway. So, I could have sworn I was told that there was a cigar lounge on this ship. Nope. Maybe there was, and it just did have a refurbishing recently, and some restaurants were changed, and some bars were probably changed here and there. Stores were added, which means stores were taken away, which means if there was a cigar lounge, it's not there anymore. I did find in one of the stores, I believe it was a liquor store, that they were selling some cigars. Half of them I'd never seen before. I don't know what the hell they were, but there were some others in there. There were some. I don't know what the prices were, so I can't say if they were overpriced or not, but they were so-so. As far as cigars on the islands I went to, lots of Cubans all over the place. Yeah, I seriously doubt it too. Some of them looked really rotten. They're in cellophane, and on the inside they looked like wrinkled up cigars. They were just wrong looking. Didn't waste my money on those. The ones I brought with me were better than anything I saw for sale anywhere. So, That's about it, I think. But I will make this public service announcement to Royal Caribbean, which I thoroughly enjoyed the cruise. Don't get me wrong. Great ship, great food, great service, great everything. But your cigarette and cigar policy, think about it for a second. You allow cigarette smoking indoors in the casino, and I don't think there's anywhere else besides that open deck that I mentioned earlier that smoking's allowed. Now, I know we're cigar smokers. Some of you may be cigarette smokers as well. I think we all can agree that cigarettes smell far worse than cigars. At least we think so. And it smelled like cigarettes in the casino. Reminded me of being in Vegas. But the other thing is that there's a hell of a lot more carcinogens in cigarettes and all the stuff they add to it compared to cigars, which is nothing. Tobacco. A little glue maybe, which is natural. A little water maybe. That's about it. Now, I sort of understand the rationale behind not allowing the rooms so the rooms don't stink up and they don't have to have smoking and non-smoking rooms, and that all makes sense to me. I understand that. Same kind of goes, I guess, for the balcony, although they don't allow smoking in the balcony, but the people next to us, and it wasn't just them, there were probably others too, were smoking. Cigarettes, cigars, marijuana. Yeah, so the problem is that any cruise company seeing this video saying, yeah, he's right about the cigarettes, let's ban them too, and that'll mean no smoking of any kind anywhere sooner or later. That's just the way it is. So, like I said, only smoked 2 cigars, only one on the ship, and it was mainly because of the wind. We'd walk out there every night to see if there was anybody else out there, and so often the wind was just brutal. It was just not going to be enjoyable, tough to light, impossible pretty much to light. Smokers were still out there smoking, but they could go to the casino. We couldn't. So there's some random thoughts. Cigars, cruise ships. I know some others are a little looser with their policy, but hate to say it, but the trend is probably going the other way. Oh well, doesn't mean I wouldn't go on cruises. It means I'd go without cigars for a week. But anyway, curious what your experiences are on cruise ships and cigars, if you've had better experiences, what your thoughts are on all that. Thanks for watching. Chris Stogie Palace, back in the palace. See you later.